And we're live. Going to give some time for people to enter before I start rambling. It would help if I, actually would put notifications the day before at least at the exact time, but most of the time it's like a last minute chance to do a live stream. We're going to talk about a wide variety of topics today, just, a bunch of like headlines that I've seen that think are good topics to discuss. So there's no like underlying theme for this live stream. It's just a bunch of rambling, but most of the time it just gets the conversation started and then we can go from there. I'm just going to play some of my most recent videos on my channel just to, not start really into much of the topic and then have like 10 people show up 5 to 10 minutes into me rambling. What I'm also probably going to do is I'll do these live streams. I'll try and limit it to maybe an hour and a half max. And when the live stream's over, what I'm thinking of doing is to put it private and then after to go back on StreamYard and download it as a video, because one of the major issues is that the viewing hours, which are quite significant when we're doing these live streams, don't count. I have to get to 4,000 viewing hours. I'm roughly at 1,700. And if I'm only doing live streams, while it's really interesting, I enjoy doing it. I enjoy having the people live and communicating. It doesn't help me get to a place of monetization. Now, I've had my channel for 4 years. When I was doing Fast Keto Prime, I definitely was not motivated by money. And it's still not really a motivation, but it is a bit of a motivation when you're doing, an extremely long live stream for a couple of hours, which, I'm able to do. We've had like up to 6 hours. That's like a work shift. And it would be fun that if people wanted to send some super chats, it'd be a little bit more motivating to make a little bit of money down the road, so that it, or else like, I may as well just do videos. But I don't want to do that because I have, a good 12 at least consistent viewers. So I think I can get the best of both worlds by having, let's see if I can accomplish that. I keep on saying a short video and sometimes it's 4 hours, but I think like an hour and a half, talk about the topics a little bit, for sure do some, longer live streams, but, for now, try and limit it to an hour and a half so I can like put it private after and just download the live stream as a video, which would count for viewing hours. So I would get the best of both worlds. I can do the live stream, we can enjoy ourselves, have fun, limit it to a reasonable amount of time, which can probably allow me to do more live streams. If I'm banging out like a 3-4 hour live stream, I can't be doing that like on multiple times a week. It's selfish, and it's taken away time from my family. So that would not be a very good option. Hello, Margaret. How are you? Nice to see you. You're the winner, the first one to show up. The real stats stopped in to say hi. I have not many view hours too. It's not easy. No, it's definitely not easy. What has really helped is actually StreamYards. Before that, I didn't know how to pop up screens so that I could like be talking, and I was like, well, how do they always like play videos and pop up screens? All I had was KineMaster, which makes amazing videos, but I wasn't able, I'd have to like snapshot or screen record and then post it in my video. It wasn't live. There's tons of editing. So it would take a lot longer to produce material. However, I still do most of my videos, especially the ones that are, well edited. short compilations that I started to experiment with. Those are all done on my phone with KineMaster. I can show you just quickly the app. So and I find it's way more convenient to do the live. I find it way more convenient to do like the compilations and stuff like that, because I can like literally just like screenshot something, go to my galleries, edit it, and then after go to KineMaster, and it's literally like a press of the button, like add screenshot, add a video. Then you can add layers onto it. You can add music, soundtrack, all sorts of stuff. And it seems to me that with KineMaster, it appears that the music that they offer is not copyrighted, because I've been putting full instrumental songs. There are some options that have words. They're actual. I don't put those because that might get a strike. So this is, damn it, I'm trying to get it where it's not as bright so it doesn't shine. I don't know if I can show you. Well, anyways, let's see if I can get that. Nah, it's too hard to see. Check out KineMaster anyways. Maybe I can pop it up on, I'll just write KineMaster in Google. KineMaster. The free app. It's going to have like a crest on top. So any of your videos will always say KineMaster. But if you pay and it's not much, then after that, KineMaster emblem on your videos are not going to be on there anymore. I think it's a great tool. It's what I did for all of my keto videos. They were all that. There. But definitely StreamYards. StreamYard you can get for free. This is the platform that I'm using at the moment. So it's free, but if you're not paying for it, I think you're limited to a certain amount of hours per month. So that's an issue. But I mean, it is free. They'll allow you to use it free, and I enjoyed it so much that I was like, no, I'm going to pay for just the basic package. So this is the app. If you go to your app store, they don't have it for the computer. It's really for Androids, maybe Apple, I'm not sure. But this is what the interface really looks like if you're interested in editing videos. Over here, you would have media browser. So you can click that. You can go to your galleries. You can go and then after you just press that, see that image, and then after you layer it over here, it's super easy. See how they add full of layers on the picture, and that's how you make pretty darn good edited videos. Download it, and then after just play around with it, and you'll be impressed. I just want to log on to YouTube for a moment. I'm always scared that I'm trying to do a live stream and something's wrong and you guys aren't seeing what I think. YouTube for a moment. Okay, good. It's working. I'm going to send a message to JD. Always like to have him on if possible. I think he's very interesting. So JD, doing a live stream. You're welcome to join. I'll get through some of the information that I want to talk about, and yeah, definitely towards the end, we can check out. I can invite some people on. We can have a chat like we usually do. So we'll get out of here. So KineMaster, I'm going to show you just this 2-minute, 44-second. This was done all on KineMaster. All of these images are just screenshots that I just Google whatever I want to pop up, go screenshot, go to galleries, just edit it, crop it, and boom, you make a quick video. I'm getting better at it, and here's the example. You know what? I'm just gonna put the full screen on. There you go, guys. So this is all with the KineMaster app. Away we go. Yeah, that's it. I mean,
one interview I get asked about a lot is the interview I did with Ronnie James Dio at his house.
It's not your turn, Ronnie James. Get out of here, Ronnie. Yeah, so I mean, so of course my wife is my worst critic. You know, she's like, I find it hard because there's too much flickering. That's her actual voice. She's not like, I find it hard because there's too much flickering. No, that's not true. I hope she never watches this. She never watches my live stream. She never does. Even yeah, never mind. I'm gonna stop complaining about my wife. I'm just teasing, but yeah. So I try and not flicker too much in some of my new ones. Let me know if the flicker was too much, but that's the way of like kind of showing multiple pictures. You layer it with a KineMaster. Let's go to some of the comments. So Margaret won the race. Real life family first. Family is priority. Correctamundo. Hey Leah, how are you? Real stats. Have one thumbs up showing. Yeah, come on, you bigots. Give me some thumbs up. Hey, Garland Farms is here. My wife and daughter are at a volleyball game, so I'm listening to my favorite Canuck. Oh, you're too sweet. And you're my favorite Texan. Favorite farmer. All right, everyone's just Leah. What up, Inspired Wilderness Mentoring? Teddy Rose. Hey, you're becoming a regular. That's good. Matt Saint in the house. Elias, mon ami. Mon séparatiste favori. Elias. All right. Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay. Yeah. So see what Margaret does? She puts 2 X's. That is, if you really want me to, it helps me, my eye catching comments that, you would want me to put on, because definitely there's a lot of chat, which is great. You guys have a little community going. You're chatting while I'm doing my thing. And it's a lot of like dead airtime if I'm like going through every single one, and I don't want to miss interacting with you guys. So if you really, want me to respond, it's a question, it's just a comment that you want to be acknowledged, just put with your emojis 2 red X's, and that tells me that I should read it. So Margaret said, I posted your Timothy vid on my page. Family member dropped me. Wasn't expecting that. Oh, well, they will be back when in need of some cash. Oh, wait, what are you talking about? You're saying that you posted my video and your family members are shunning you now? Come on, that's usually, family members should only do that when it's related to the COOF or to healthy, happy medicine. That's the only legit time that families should completely, disown each other and no longer talk. Right? You guys agree? Okay, go into more detail about your family members dropping you. Margaret is talking about this video. Another shameless plug, but it's my channel. I'm allowed plugging my own shameful videos. I'm not going to play all of it, I don't think, because that one's a little bit longer. So Margaret is talking about this video. There are only 7 people. Want to start, want to hit the 10 threshold if possible. Cancel. Okay, yeah, sorry guys. Almost there. This is the one that Margaret's talking about. Not going to play all of this there, but here you'll see with the KindMaster, I actually added like videos. And the music there that you hear, that's actually just from KindMaster. They have like all sorts of different themes. So see, this here was just stuff from YouTube, and I just screen recorded with my phone. So I recorded my own screen, and then after pop that onto the KindMaster, that image there, I'm layering. I just layered that over the recording. Yeah, so I mean, hopefully you guys will use this. It's really helpful. I like where is it? This is the one. This is my favorite part here, and then we'll stop. Wait, it's a little bit back there. This part, I like this part. You can line up the images to appear exactly when the music's hitting the tone. You can fade, you can flicker. Here I'm using the image and I'm putting flicker. This is the part I kind of like. It's intense. It's brutal. That's a weird tongue. All right, that's it. So I should get paid by KindMaster for all of this advertisement. Yeah, we're gonna check out Daily Wire. I have a Daily Wire subscription, and I don't regret it. I respect very much Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles. They're conservative. The Daily Wire is basically a conservative news commentary, but not only news. Like Ben Shapiro's like very political. Matt Walsh, each one of them has a different aspect that they concentrate on it. So yeah, if you wanna combat woke leftist stupidity, check out the Daily Wire. They have most of their stuff. The podcast is pretty much Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, Candace Owen, Kevin Clavin, Michael Knowles. Did I say those guys they offer most of the Daily Wire podcasts on YouTube, so you don't necessarily have to check that, but what I mean, you don't necessarily have to get the subscription, but I like to encourage them because I like that they're actually, speaking out about a lot of the leftist stuff, and they're doing good work. So I don't regret supporting them. All right. Any other comments before we get going? I think that JD will be able to come on. So Elias. Laugh out loud. Separatist is from an ancient past live face. Fishwa tongue out, face green smiling. Yeah, if you guys are wondering what I mean by separatist, is that Quebec is a French province in Canada. Pretty much all the other provinces and territories are English, but Quebec is French, and very often they want to separate from Canada. They want their own independence. And there's been referendums for that, and most of the time the English don't want to separate, and the French do want to separate and maintain their French culture. So there's been that in the past. So we often joke around and call French people separatists, but I say that to Elias with the utmost love and respect. 14. Share the live on my community. Thank you, Darla Lama. 14. Well, there's not 14 now if you're talking about viewers. I think my fuzzy beard is turning people off, and they just can't handle it, and they're leaving. Crazy Music Space Jam. That's my favorite handle. Every time I say it, I have to do it in this fashion. It's Crazy Music Space Jam. Yeah, Knowles is awesome. Okay, we have some Daily Wire fans. Good. If you say anything wrong about the Daily Wire, you're going to be officially banned. Thanks, Darla. I probably go live Thursday and Friday to make some test Crazy Music Space Jam. So I guess Crazy Music Space Jam, maybe check that out. Probably has a channel, so let's all encourage each other. All right. Our favorite special guest. Well, actually, I call him regular guest now. I use his brain, so I don't have to think of so much interesting things to say. I can just let JD. Then I get the credit. I get the views. There you go, JD. Get your butt on here. Matt Saint says, I'm good, thanks. Farm planning and soil amendment season. I have lots of seeds starting the indoor grow room, veggies, herbs. Wife has some flowers too. Yep. Links there, Garland. You're free to come on whenever you like. Okay. First order of business. While I wait for JD to get his act together and get his butt on here. Just going to present this. JD, I'm popping up the screen. Okay, there he is. What up, JD?
Hey, Jason, how are you?
Good, good.
Good.
How was the date with the missus?
Oh, it was great.
You got to learn your priorities, man. It's my live stream, and then after it's family. I forgive you.
Okay.
Just don't do it again. All right, let's check out this first article. You're going to love this one. All right, some more Frankenfood. The incredible medical egg. This is genetically modified chickens that produce medicines in their eggs. Maybe the drug factories of the future. So I guess eggs are bad for you because they have cholesterol, but eggs are incredible when they become freaking medicine. This is crazy. Listen to this. The chicken egg has a storied history in medicine. Even today, millions of ordinary fertilized eggs are each punctured with a drill and injected with flu virus to make vaccines. Okay, that's news to me. Now, scientists at the same research institute that cloned Dolly the sheep have produced a genetically modified rooster whose female descendants lay eggs that produce medicines in place of a protein in egg whites. Helen Sang of the Roslin Institute in Scotland and her colleagues used Lent virus to introduce a gene into freshly fertilized chicken embryos. This doesn't sound horrific at all. Chicken embryos that trigger the production of various drugs rather than the protein oval like albumin, but ovalbumin, which naturally makes up roughly 54% of egg whites. The researchers screened the resultant cockerels for one that produced the new gene in its semen. They then bred him with normal hens to produce a flock of chickens that carried the inserted gene, thereby producing medicines in their egg whites. How long is this article? Okay, it's not long. Tests of the flock's eggs showed that they could produce either MIR24, a monoclonal antibody used to treat melanoma, or interferon B1, blah, 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 big words, an immune system protein, which an immune system protein used against multiple sclerosis, among other things, depending on which gene was inserted. The chickens produce 15 to 50 micrograms per milliliter of egg white. The researchers found and thought this is not as efficient as the expression of the ovalbumin. It is efficient enough to allow for subsequent purification into therapeutic drugs. We would expect the transgene transgene, maybe that's what people have. Anyways, we would expect the transgene not to be as efficient as the endogenous gene it was based on, as only some of the regulatory elements were used, and the transgene may be inserted in the chromosomes at a position that does not favor anywhere near maximal expression. Um, uh, Roslyn, who also participated in the research, I'm sure there is potential for improvement. Chicken eggs may prove a better way to produce pharmaceuticals than other genetically modified products such as goat milk that have been previously explored. I wonder if they're talking about the goat milk, the spider goats that produce spider silk in their milk. Have
Maybe.
you heard of that one, JD?
Yes.
Yeah, I can maybe pop that one after too. I think they're making like some kind of bulletproof armor also, probably among other things, but they're making like a Kevlar with this, since, like, spider silk is so strong. Chickens are easy to raise, produce numerous eggs, and are cheap to keep. And after raising 5 generations of modified birds, the researchers have observed no adverse effects. According to the paper published in January 15th, the National Academy of Science. So what are your thoughts on that, JD? Sounds great.
Well, it's the scary thing is that most people don't have access to a source of local pasture raised eggs. So it's
Yeah.
very possible that in the future, the majority of the world's population, if they want to eat an egg, may have only the choice of consuming an egg that's been spiked with some type of pharmaceutical product.
Yeah.
Did you see the related news? Some scientists in China were celebrating a breakthrough where they could deliver vaccines with mosquitoes.
No. Not surprising.
Yeah, they're advertising it as something that would only be used to help animals in the wild.
Sure.
Of course, they consider humans to be, at best, animals in the wild as well. So,
yeah. It's like Yuval Noah Harari that says human beings are just a bunch of proteins, like a fleshy algorithm. He called it. I'm making another compilation that's going to have again him in it, which is like completely scary, this transhumanism, and how like blatantly he's talking about human minds being commodities and all of this, and it's like they just say it out in the open, and people are so freaking like preoccupied with Instagram and stuff like that that this is all going below the radar for most people. It's quite worrisome, let's just say. And I mean, my thought is that we're headed, whether we like it or not, towards a few large global corporations that more and more are just going to take over our food supply, and they'll be pretty much the only sources of supply to foods, and then they can put whatever they want, right? You could be eating these eggs and have no freaking clue, what's happening at all. I've popped the spermicidal corn multiple times, but I mean, I'll do it again because that it's very closely related to medicinal eggs. So people can, if they haven't looked into it, I'll just pop up that screen. Here, spermicidal corn. Yeah, sterility vaccines, spermicidal corn. So like I didn't realize that genetically modified like GMO plants and stuff, GMO plants could be weaponized like that. I thought like, oh, okay, they genetically modify it so they don't have seeds or stuff like that. I'm just starting to realize that the technology is there, and if it's there, that that they're going to use it, and it's not going to be to our benefit. But yeah, here, GMO corn set to stop man spreading his seed. So hypothetically, call me paranoid. Hypothetically, let's say we get to more globalized and more basically what they're doing, right? If they're starting this globalized private public enterprise where government and large corporations are working together, and obviously they're going to fulfill their own interests. I just see more and more that we're going to be forced into eating food that is supplied by these psychopaths, and we won't even know. We won't know. I mean, corn, right, is in everything in the middle aisle. So what they're gonna make beef so damn expensive that we just can't afford it, and they're gonna just go down the animal food chain, in my opinion, knocking off the next animal and the next animal until at one point, animal food will be like perhaps a luxury, and we're just going to be eating all of these processed foods and mock. Obviously, if they're going to take away meat, they got to have a replacement that's going to look or taste like meat or approach, vegan wise, and they're just going to do that. What are your thoughts on that? Am I delusional?
No. They're definitely moving that direction. I'm not sure. There's a couple of possibilities. One of them is that they go all the way, like you're talking about. The other option came to me one day when I was watching Joe Rogan, and previous to that, I had seen. I don't know if you remember Ronald Reagan.
Yep.
Well, he made multiple speeches referring to a kind of a globalist fantasy of wishing that we would be attacked by aliens, because that would bring the world together against a common enemy.
Yeah.
And I think that, like I say, one possibility is they're going to go all the way with this, like you're saying, is a strong possibility. And I agree, it's a strong possibility. But another possibility is that, and the way and what sparked this in my imagination was watching Joe Rogan speaking with a guy, and I don't remember what his name was, but he was educating. However, I think that Joe Rogan is actually in the know on all of this.
Okay.
He was talking to Joe Rogan about the WEF and Klaus Schwab and company, and Joe Rogan said something along the lines of, he said, "Yeah, I saw that, or I heard that, and you have to wonder, why is Klaus Schwab telling everyone what he's going to do? Why is he being so open about this?"
Yeah.
And there is the possibility that Klaus Schwab and company has been engineered to be that alien force that Ronald Reagan had been praying for. And of course, Ronald Reagan was a Hollywood actor. When I say Ronald Reagan was praying for it, I'm saying that whoever was behind the script writers responsible for Ronald Reagan's words were praying or wishing for this alien force that would unify the world under one ruling government.
Yeah.
And so there is the possibility that they are communicating to us a very dystopian future that may or may not be what they actually have in store for us.
Mhm.
It could be a scare campaign, a fear campaign to get the citizens of the United States, Canada, the Netherlands, Australia, China, every country to have us all, eventually someone might come in as the savior figure and save us from all of this or some of this under the condition that we all agree to live under one ruling body, one global ruling body.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's possible that they're just going to hedge us straight into a 100% spermist, and there is no doubt that they've already taken measures to decrease population, to decrease fertility. If you get on Google and look up global fertility rates, global sperm counts, all of that has dropped alarmingly.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, with all of the petroleum-based packaging that they use, everything's in a plastic bag or wrapped in cellophane. We've got Ziploc this and Glad bags and all these plastic containers that we put our leftovers in and then put in the refrigerator, and it picks up microplastics and estrogenic compounds, and they're feeding us a majority plant-based diet that's got lots of phytoestrogens in it. James Cameron, I read the other day that he had brought up the subject of testosterone, and he labeled it a toxin that needed to be eradicated.
Typical.
You know, I don't know if you've looked into China's social credit system.
No. Sorry, say that again. Sorry, I was looking for the for stuff on fertility, so I was semi-listening. Say, what's the last thing you just said?
Have you looked at China's social credit system?
Vaguely, like I did YouTube research, but yeah, I'm I'm aware of it.
Well, you know, they give everyone a score, and you'll get a certain score just for being a white male. That can give you a base score that's lower than others. If you're a heterosexual white male, then your score would be even lower. If you're married to a heterosexual white male, then that will lower your score. If you have associated with a heterosexual white male, that would lower your score. If you speak negatively about any government program, well, that will lower your score. Your reading habits online or at the library can lower your score. Your driving habits can lower your score. Eating meat can lower your score.
Yeah.
And choosing eggs that haven't been spiked with pharmaceutical drugs could lower your score. Yeah. And so what they use the score for is a system of rewards and punishments. So if you eat the pharmaceutically spiked eggs, and if you line up for every medical intervention, and you disassociate with heterosexual white males. And if you agree with everything the government says, then you will be rewarded with high internet speeds, lower taxes.
Hmm.
You won't get audited by the government. The range on your electric vehicle will be longer. You'll be
Wow.
under less strict travel bans. If you do not cooperate gleefully with all of these measures, and you purchase red meat, you support your local cattlemen, you buy local pastured eggs, you eat a predominantly organic pastured meat diet, you consume organ meats. Uh, if you do what they, if you're the type of person they don't like, then they will throttle your internet speed. They'll limit or disable the performance of your electric vehicle. They will put you under travel restrictions or travel bans. You'll get higher taxes. You'll be audited left and right. And that is what they're talking about. That is what they're already doing in China.
Hmm.
And our government is now here in the US and in Canada. They're talking about implementing a Chinese style social credit system. In
Hmm.
fact, the US federal government has come out in the last couple of days teasing us with the idea that they're about to ban natural gas powered stoves. So that would give them the ability, because with a natural gas stove, you could have a propane tank outside your home that might last you 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
So they would actually have to come out and physically turn that off or unhook it or take it away. And they don't really want to be bothered with a lot of footwork like that. So they would prefer that these types of cooking methods and heating methods be criminalized. That way, if they do have to do any footwork, they can just come get you and put you in a cage and forget about it.
Right.
Otherwise, if you're going to cooperate and get rid of your gas stove, well, now you're going to be left to using electricity. Most people don't realize, at least here in the United States, the vast majority of electricity is generated using coal and natural gas. And it's a whole lot less efficient to turn coal into electricity and then turn that electricity into heat.
Hmm.
There's with every step there you lose efficiency, and so it's much more efficient to just burn natural gas to produce heat. But if they can get everyone on electric heat and electric cooking methods, then they can plug that into the social credit system and then punish you by limiting your access to that at will if you do not fall in line with their Marxist draconian program.
Yeah. No, it makes complete sense. The little that I did see, they even have like publicly, big, screens like with people's faces showing up with their scores, like a way of publicly shaming. And you can
Yeah,
see how see, the scary part one of the scary parts, it is not what they're trying to do. It's that they use social engineering to the point where the population is happy about it. Like when the WEF says, you're not going to have any privacy, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. They're really serious about that, because there will be a majority, in my opinion, that will welcome it. you know, they think it's great. Like a lot of people, you know, it's like, yeah, that's great, lab grown meat, we don't have to kill, you know. It's just like people are actually going to be asking for it. That's what just blows my mind, because I did see a little bit on the social credit score, and they were interviewing citizens in China, and a lot of them are like, no, it's, you know, it's, this is good, you know. And if you're not doing anything wrong, then you shouldn't have anything to hide. And they're just, you know, a lot of people actually you know, think that it's a great thing. And we can see I mean, especially Trudeau, how he just salivates and just, like, you know, has a schoolboy crush on China. And he, you know, especially Trudeau. I mean, he's kind of like in a class of his own. You know, he's like the prototype. He's just it's just disgusting.
Yeah, he's Klaus Schwab's teacher's pet, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean,
He's the
when
one
Klaus, yeah, go ahead.
he sharpens his pencils. He goes and gets his water for him.
Yeah,
You know, he rubs his feet in between classes.
yeah. No, he and if you look at the World Economic Forum, like they have who's the Xi Jinping, or who's the head of China there, Jinping or something like that.
Something. Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
remember
whatever.
the name.
Yeah, so Jinping, he's been at the World Economic Forum. He's spoken. I mean, this is, you know, the you know, China does horrible atrocities to people in China, and he's just welcomed on the World Economic Forum stage as literally an example. I mean, if he's there speaking, it's because the World Economic Forum acknowledges that, you know, this is great. I mean, pretty much at this point, probably all the countries are just salivating. But more specifically, when Klaus Schwab was speaking about young global leaders, I mean, he mentioned a whole slew of countries, but he specifically spoke about Trudeau, saying that, you know, just openly, like very encouraging, like Justin Trudeau, you know, we've penetrated at least 50% of the cabinet. And what he's talking about is the Liberal Party, maybe even the Conservatives, who knows. At this point, there's the head opposition is Pierre Poilievre, and who knows, right? I mean, like you said, all politicians are crooked and stuff like that. He could be just playing, but I'm definitely voting for the Conservatives, Pierre Poilievre. He's at least he's faking it, and he seems to make sense. And I mean, he's spoken with Jordan Peterson, and they've gone. You know, Jordan Peterson has been very outspoken. You know JP, right? You've heard of him, Jordan Peterson.
I know all about him, but
Haven't watched much, but
I saw him get questioned one time on stage about the possibility of another Holodomor.
another what war?
Holodomor.
I don't know what that is.
Okay. You're aware that Stalin killed about 20 million people?
Yeah.
He did that primarily using starvation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why that's why they don't really cover Stalin in any of the schools. They don't cover Stalin. You know, they mention his name, but it's not studied carefully, and they don't tell people what his method of mass execution was.
Yeah.
His method was to shut down farming and run farmers off of their property, lock farmers in their homes, all the stuff that you're seeing going on right now around the world.
Yeah, I didn't want to cut you off, you know, so that's exactly what's happening everywhere. And like, not even like just, I know they're going after the cattle big time, but they're also limiting fertilizer for even plant agriculture.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's funny because JP wrote anyways, yeah, before just not to jump everywhere. So Jordan Peterson has been very outspoken against Trudeau, just calling him a narcissist, just, calling a spade. And now Trudeau is going after him by having the College of Psychologists basically disciplining him. So right now his license to practice as a psychologist is being threatened. He has to do a re-education program, which sounds again like China. It's like, we're just gonna. Oh, you don't agree with Justin Trudeau? Okay, well, we're gonna re-educate you, and we're gonna remove your license to practice because you're saying bad things about the leader. So not only has the right to protest, we've seen that's non-existent now in Canada. The Freedom Convoy showed us that, and now we can't even just speak out. It's funny because, like, when they see somebody that becomes very influential on social media, it's like it's a threat, right? You can say, well, I could say all sorts of stuff. There's no problem. But when you reach a certain threshold of influence, you're a threat, and they just shut you down. And that's what they're doing with Jordan Peterson now. Jordan Peterson has no intention, anyways, of practicing psychology. Anyways, he was a clinical psychologist for a long time. Then, after he went to the University of Toronto and studied in the humanities, and he has some really amazing online lectures. All of his lectures in university are actually free online, yeah, it's just basically he doesn't really care because he's not going to go back to the universities to teach, because he said they've been invaded. Especially the humanities are just a bunch of like women's studies, gender studies, critical race theory, all sorts of ideologies and stuff like that, and very leftist. Like you can't even probably be a conservative psychologist anymore. So he had no intentions of going back. He's making tons of cash lecturing instead of lecturing one person as a clinical psychologist. He's sharing it on lectures free on YouTube. His lectures are filling tens of thousands of people. He's making money on it. I don't see anything wrong with that, but all of the stuff that he says is also put free. And his books, he's writing books, and on top of it now, he's part of the Daily Wire, so he's making a killing. He would never go back to teaching, and that's not the point. It's just the point that, like, seriously, because this guy has a political opinion, he is now an incompetent psychologist.
Well, that is, you really, and anyone watching right now, you want to understand how all this works. You really need to go. I mean, if you haven't gone and picked up a copy of Machiavelli's The Prince, which is a book that was written in the 1500s, and that is the book that's being passed around by the WEF. It's the book that they've all read. They take classes on it. There was an entire DVD set that was put together by Michael Moore. Is he the liberal director that did Roger and Me?
Yeah, I think it's Michael Moore. I know what you mean. Yeah.
So here's the way this works, and see, you and I are seeing this two different ways. You're seeing everything going on with Jordan Peterson, taking it at face value. I am not. I certainly am not. And what triggered me was not only reading Machiavelli's The Prince, but when I saw a Jewish man question Jordan Peterson on the chances of another Holodomor, and he stood there on stage for about a minute and a half in silence, looking at the floor.
Hmm.
And he finally looked up and said, "I can't do it. I can't speak on this subject. I'm sorry. Next question," or next. He went on. Well, that video used to be on YouTube.
Hmm.
They removed it, and now I think you can get it on, one of the other second tier alternative platforms, video platforms.
Hmm.
But it's that discussion, that particular discussion is being censored from the internet. He has not expressed the fact that that was censored. He has not followed up and explained himself as to why he would not
Hmm.
warn people about the possibility of a coming mass global starvation. And he has spoken about the Holodomor since, but he
Hmm.
did not speak about it in the context of which he was originally publicly questioned about it.
Yeah.
And the
So what impression did that give you? Like you're saying, so
what I'm saying
what?
is that I believe that he is controlled opposition, and if you look throughout history, the most effective and the most dangerous form of censorship is self-censorship. And so the way that the powers will engineer self-censorship is to take a very high-profile, outspoken individual who's speaking out against some, not all, some of the Marxists' stated plans,
Mhm.
some of the Marxists' ongoing exercises and programs, and censor them. And then what you have is you have everyone talking about it. Did you hear what happened to Jordan Peterson?
Mhm.
They're doing this to him. If you have an opinion and you speak out, this is what happens to you. See, this is
Mhm.
what happens to you. See, this is what happens to you. See, and so what that does is it has a hushing effect uh, around the world if it's a global figure that's being censored. The one that happened, the controlled opposition that happened to that I can think of before that was Alex Jones, and
Mhm.
Alex Jones questioned Sandy Hook because there were lots of legal protocols that were not followed for that, and there were lots of
Mhm.
questions that were not answered, and questions that were not allowed to be asked. And
Yeah.
anytime there's questions not answered or questions that are forbidden, then you can bet that something is not on the up and up. And we see that with the COOF, we see that with Sandy Hook, we see that with other mass shootings that have occurred.
Mhm.
And of course, I think the families of the victims of the Sandy Hook shooting ended up suing him for like $50 million or $1 billion. And he, of course, I believe he lost that court case. So, and now I saw a video of him either today or yesterday. He was working out with weights and drinking alcohol at the same time, and was spitting on the floor, coughing up, taking shots while he's doing bench presses, and he
Mhm.
weighs about 150 pounds. He's about 150 pounds overweight, and
Mhm.
what I see is that people like him and people like Jordan Peterson, people like that organization that you said that he went to work for.
Mhm.
These are what I see as controlled opposition. they will speak out very loudly on some subjects. But, you don't see Jordan Peterson speaking out very loudly about the Chinese social credit system. He's not speaking out very loudly about putting pharmaceuticals in the corn. He's not speaking out very loudly about putting pharmaceuticals in the eggs or using mosquitoes to inject people with vaccines.
Yeah.
There's just a pretty long list of things that he's too smart not to know about and too outspoken not to speak about if he knew about them.
Yeah.
So while I would like to live in a warm and fuzzy world where I believe that he is on my side, I can guarantee you that he's not on your side. He is not.
Well,
The world is a stage.
I can't deny. I can't say for sure. I can't say like, no, that's not true. I just know that I've followed him for a long time. I followed him when he was just a humanities teacher. So first thing was he was putting his humanities courses online. He wasn't making any money. He was just putting that online. I thought that was swell, and they're amazing lectures about psychology and stuff like that. Then after he entered the limelight with gender ideology, when Canada made it a law that you had to use gender pronouns. If somebody says, I want you, and he refused. He says that never in the history of a Commonwealth has there ever been a law that forces you to actually say something. Now, he risked his career because at that time he was a university professor, and he stood his ground, risking possibly everything. Now, like you say, if you're going from that could be a show. I don't think so because he wasn't in the limelight. That propelled him into it. And then from there, he's I've seen so much of Jordan Peterson that, I mean, like I said, I don't know. I mean, it's all everything's possible, but I've watched his progression, and I don't think, can't say, like I said, no one can claim absolutes. It's fine to be suspicious, but I mean, he's talked about, and again, I don't know all of the stuff, but the Gulag Appendigo, it's the gulags. If you probably know, I'm not learned in this, but it's pretty much something that happened again in some communist countries, and it was pretty much what you were talking about, mass genocide of populations. I have to look into it, but he's on media. He's very, very influential. He's not a perfect person either. I know he's very careful at speaking, and if he doesn't have a smart answer, sometimes he just doesn't know. I didn't see that. So I don't know, like, if you've just seen very limited amounts, I'd say, like, yeah, well, watch maybe a little more before. Here, did I share screen? Okay. This one. So, like, he does talk about the pandemic, famine, war. He does interview a wide variety. I don't think that this is like some ruse. It's like, look, he talked against Trudeau a lot and called him a narcissist, and all of a sudden now the college is telling him, and directly because of his political views, that he's under investigation and he needs a re-education program. Just like they really went after him, the colleges, because he was he was refusing to use gender pronouns. He put a lot at risk there. That was even before he was famous. He stood his ground, and I think that.
Okay, let me ask you this, Jason.
Sure.
Do you know that Putin is a member of the WEF?
Yeah, I saw it.
And he graduated from the Young Leaders Program, the World Economic Forum, the Young Leaders Program. In fact, Putin was on that short list that Klaus Schwab was bragging about.
Yeah.
Okay. Have
Yeah. I
you
saw
heard
him shaking hands, the picture,
have you heard Jordan Peterson talk about Putin being a member of the WEF? And if not, do you think you know more than Jordan Peterson about this?
Well, I don't know any more than I don't know a lot about that. But the people do focus on certain things. Like he can't be a jack of all trades either. I mean, he is very outspoken. Initially was the ideology, but he's always been focused on helping people, like help books. If you look at most of his lectures, it's like the Bible studies. Here, I'll just pop this up. What I'm saying is his main if you really look at all of his stuff, the majority of the stuff is him trying to speak to young men that are disillusioned. He's doing his clinical psychology, but basically on the world stage. He does like a wide variety of interviews. He had interviewed a lady that escaped North Korea. So he has been very outspoken, and he went as far as to say that this gender ideology, the foundation of it is genocidal. And people are like, what are you talking about? People just want to have their preferred pronouns. They want to. And he was like, no. He goes, the foundation, and he has studied and I'm talking from a place of ignorance. I haven't studied all of the Marxism and stuff like that. It's something I have to get into, but he's been very outspoken about Marxism and the gulags, and maybe he didn't. I don't know why he said I can't discuss about that topic. But if you look at what Jordan Peterson, the majority of stuff that he's doing, it's his psychology. It's helping disillusioned men, getting their act together. And he does have some political views that he shares. I find that he's sharing it more now that he's on the Daily Wire. Like he was a little bit more careful, even about gender ideology and stuff. I think now he has a platform, and now he's kind of like, I can say what I want. No one, I don't have to be a psychologist. He's just started really with lectures, and he's only written 2 books. So prior to that, he was probably also thinking, well, I might want to go back into clinical psychology. He got really sick, so he went from the reason that he stopped initially the university was he got sick or something for 2-3 years. He was just too sick to deal with it. So anyways,
Okay.
for me,
Okay.
I don't see.
That's fine. Let's touch on the subject of self-censorship. Speaking of psychology, he's an expert in psychology.
Sure.
And in the subject under that umbrella would be something that they would study called self-censorship. And this is the Wikipedia page. Wikipedia even has a page on self-censorship.
Okay.
Self-censorship is the act of censoring or classifying one's own discourse. This is done out of fear of or deference to sensibilities or preferences, actual or perceived, of others, and without overt pressure from any specific party or institution of authority. Self-censorship is often practiced by film producers, film directors, publishers, news anchors, journalists, musicians, and other kinds of authors, including individuals who use social media. Article 19 of, I won't read the rest of it, but self-censorship is considered one of the most dangerous and one of the most damaging forms of censorship, because it is like it says here. It says it happens without overt pressure from any specific party or institution of authority. And so you can't deny that a high-profile dissident like Jordan Peterson, who's being censored now, and everyone's hearing about it, that is going to have a hushing effect. It's going to cause
Yeah, for sure.
self-censorship out there in the real world. Is he going to come out and tell his followers, no matter what happens to me, guys, no matter what happens to me, do not fall victim to self-censorship?
But I
Continue
feel
to
that
speak out
Jordan,
against this.
I feel that Jordan has proven that when he was completely, they attempted to completely destroy him, the university and everything, when he was like, no, I'm sticking to my principles and, about the pronouns. And right now, I really don't think that it's a ruse. I think that no, friggin' Trudeau is an arse, and he literally is like, yeah, that guy's talking about me. I'm going to cause problems. But I just want to give you an idea because, like I said, I think that Jordan Peterson's main thing isn't politics. His thing is helping people. So he's not going to talk, in my opinion, necessarily about this. Here's an example. You see the Daily Wire right now? Yeah, you see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
look. So this is what he has. This is his content. Exodus. Okay, this is a new series that he's doing. Logos and literacy. Peterson on marriage. Okay, Beyond Order. That's not just for women, but he does focus on men because he believes that men are being demasculinized, toxic masculinity, that young men are disillusioned, the ambition is toxic masculinity. Here, Dragons, Monsters, and Men, this is all about what makes a man, maps of meaning, Bible series, person. So if you notice, it's like, okay, he does make some political statements and stuff like that, but that's not his focus. Like I have devoured everything this guy has seen, and that's why I'm like, I don't agree with that particular view, even though I'm not going to say no, it's impossible. But he focuses on helping people. That's all of his content. And if you look at here, this is his podcast, and he just has a wide variety of people. Here is a girl that detransitioned, climate denial. Everyone, fight in front of your children. So he just interviews a wide variety of topics, and also topics that he doesn't agree. And I think if you would look into it more, maybe you saw a limited amount and are
No,
suspicious.
I pay very close attention to him.
Okay.
I pay very close attention to him because to me, he's very predictable. Everything that he does is predictable, and the subjects that he won't touch, to me, are predictable. And his stance on certain issues is predictable. I can look it up, and he'll say exactly what I expected controlled opposition to say. You can choose to believe him that he's that to each his own.
Mm-hmm.
But I do disagree that he is one of the good guys. I do believe that he is controlled opposition, and those are some of the most dangerous individuals because at least we know Klaus Schwab is against us. But those people who are pretending to be on our side, who are helping to engineer self-censorship and things like that, those are extremely dangerous individuals because people are not thinking critically about them. They're not, I can say it 100 times. Go read Machiavelli's The Prince. And
yeah, no, I'll definitely.
People won't do it. People won't do it. And one of the reasons that they won't do it is because they're afraid. They're fearful, and one of the things that scares them more than anything else is having their golden calf taken down. And for a lot of people, Jordan Peterson is a golden calf. They don't want to hear him criticized. They can't tolerate it, and they won't even entertain the long list of issues that he's not covering satisfactorily. I mean, I don't, in my humble opinion, the issue of a future vegan mandate, the
Mhm.
issue about the fact that all of the major supermarket meat suppliers are pursuing plant-based proteins and
Mhm.
positioning themselves to exit meat altogether. The fact that Tyson Foods, Cargill, JBS are all members of the World Economic Forum. These are issues that he doesn't cover, and instead he's going to interview someone who's detransitioning. And it seems like that's a really good subject to cover, but
Mhm.
that is a distraction, because I don't care if someone wants to transition. I don't care if someone wants to detransition. What's
Mhm.
most important to me is that I'm able to feed my family in the future foods that are going to sufficiently provide all of the essential amino acids, all of the essential fatty acids, all of the essential cholesterol, all of the essential methylcobalamin, all of the essential uh, nutrients that you can't get on a plant-based diet or a vegan diet. And
Mhm.
also the fact that every day the trumpets blow louder and louder, expressing this message that we have to eradicate livestock agriculture.
Mhm.
He should be focused. He should be focused on that way more than he is. That should get airtime long before uh, you know interviewing someone who's detransitioning,
Mhm.
because uh, you know whether or not someone wants to transition or detransition, you know what? That's their business. That's their business. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
for
want
sure.
I don't want to be taxed and to help pay for these transitionings back and forth. I don't want my daughter to have to compete in track or volleyball against biological men who are wearing a wig
Yeah.
and a two-piece bathing suit. But the fact of the matter is that those issues are irrelevant at the end of the day. What's more relevant, what's most relevant right now, more than anything else, is the fact that they're shutting farming down
For sure.
globally.
Yeah. Right.
The fact that they're demonizing meat on the regular, and he might
Mhm.
talk about it on a Monday on in March, but
Yeah.
when you're talking about a pending global mass starvation,
Mhm.
what difference does it make if someone is detransitioning? It
Well,
doesn't make any difference.
no, I understand that. I think that Jordan does a couple of things. He does a podcast. So just like Joe Rogan will just talk all sorts of stuff. So there is an aspect where he's just trying to get interesting conversation, interesting topics. But okay, so let's say the Daily Wire. I'm a big fan of that. So are you saying that now Ben Shapiro's he's
Yeah.
not who he says he
No,
is.
well, no,
Matt Walsh,
he also doesn't speak about the subjects. The He does not
but
talk about the most pressing sub. If have you ever studied controlled opposition, Jason?
no, you're a lot more well versed in stuff like that's why I have you on because I'm interested because I don't want to just hear myself talk. So there's a lot of stuff I need to get into. I mean,
Okay, but
yeah,
my
I'm not
question
well,
is
right.
do you know anything about controlled opposition?
Well, yeah, I mean, it appears as if it's the opposition, but really it's not. Like, trying to think of an example. Well, technically, the liberals could be the enemies, and the conservatives are the controlled opposition. They're fighting in the cabinets, and we think that it's one against the other, but they're all on the same page if they're dealing with the World Economic Forum, right? So
Yeah.
that's a form of controlled opposition. We're like,
How
oh,
many
he's good,
times?
he's bad.
How many? I know that it has been done. I know that it has been done. There has been at least one individual from the Canadian Conservative cabinet who stood up and referenced the fact that Trudeau is working for Klaus Schwab.
Mhm.
However, mentioning that one day out of the year is not indicative of someone who is on your side. That is a perfect representation of controlled opposition.
Mhm.
Because if they say it one day, or they say it at 10:05 a.m. on a Wednesday in 2022, and then you've got that video or that soundbite that everyone can always reference to and say, look, no, they did talk about that. But no, this is an issue that they should be standing on the back of their chairs
Mhm.
on the daily, exposing the fact that Trudeau is a graduate of Klaus Schwab's Young Global Leaders Program,
Mhm.
and the fact that they're trying to hedge us into a Chinese style social credit system. But
Mhm.
you don't see them, you don't see even this Pierre guy uh, exposing that like he could. And that would be very effective at defeating these people, is
Mhm.
exposing the fact that they're not working for the people, they're working for this group of out of touch elites that are hoping to um, absorb all the wealth and have us own nothing and be happy. Uh,
Mhm.
that's a subject that Pierre should be talking about, not just
Yeah.
every
Oh,
day,
yeah. No, for sure.
be bringing it up every hour. He should just sit there and talk about nothing but that.
Yeah.
Because if
But
he
like,
did that, then guess what? Everyone would be talking about it. But
no, I
instead,
I hear you. I
you and
hear
I
you.
are talking about it, but most people on YouTube are not talking about it.
No. Like, but like, let's say for example, like when you're talking about the one that he's like, I can't answer, but like here with the share screen, like he has tons of criticism and he goes into the history of the communist. So I feel like for me, I feel like no, he's actually spoken a lot about communism, about Marxism, and stuff like that, you know. So I'm like, no, in my head, I'm like, no, it's not his focus. His focus is really on people. His focus is literally on helping. Like that's. I'm not saying, you know, like that's he's a clinical psychologist. That's his bread and butter. Then he's doing the podcast thing, so he's just trying to have interesting conversations with people. But when I don't know, he's earned my respect. Um, I I don't know. I'm actually surprised that you think he's a controlled opposition, but you know, like what about all of this? It seems like he's speaking out and letting people know
Okay,
that.
okay. Can we count? Can we count? Can you go to the top of the page?
Oh crap! Just a minute. I stopped sharing. Um, present.
The reason that you're surprised is because you haven't read Machiavelli's The Prince. You haven't
Okay,
studied
so just wait
controlled opposition.
for that. Can
So
you just kind of explain, because like some of the like the live viewers and stuff, or anybody who watches, like you're saying that, but like people probably don't even have like an idea. It's just like you're naming a book or something. Like give us like, okay, what is the, you know, like a small summary, like
why
this
don't you?
is what it's about, this was the purpose, this is, you know, just so
Okay.
people know, because I don't know much and I'm sure other people don't either. So like try
Well,
and give us a little bit more about that
the
specific book.
Machiavelli was a guy who in the 1500s was uh, he was, I guess you could say he was counseling the leaders of the day,
Okay.
and the guy was brilliant, and he had ideas on how to gain control and maintain control.
Okay.
And so one of the ways to do that that he explains is using controlled opposition. You know, you've heard the best way to control the opposition is to lead it yourself. Well,
Okay.
that's a Machiavellian principle. Why don't you do this? Why don't you look up Michael Moore, The Mind of a Leader?
Okay. Give me 1 second.
So, but before we get to that, I'll
Yeah.
fill the dead air with the fact that I was looking at those videos that you were showing me, and it was like the first 6 videos were illustrating that he was talking about things like Marxism,
Mm-hmm.
and things to that effect. But let's see, that was 3 years ago, and the other one was 5 years ago. So we're talking about 2,000 days, a span of about 2,000 days, and within a span of 2,000 days, maybe on 6 or 7 occasions, he exposed. Okay, keep going.
Down or up? Like this? Like
And
continue.
see, there's one that's not even. Some of these are other people, or some of these are repeats, right? So the way controlled opposition works is that, first of all, in order to have opposition, controlled opposition, you've got to have someone that you've arranged someone to speak out against you. If you're the ruling class, you've got to pick someone who's willing to speak out against you. But you've got to set some subjects aside and say, Mr. Controlled Opposition, you can't speak on this subject, and you can't speak on this subject. You can speak on this subject, but you can only speak on it once every 6 months, or once every year and a half, or once every 2 years. And that way, that bit of information, that truth that you tell, becomes a needle in a haystack. Because if he's out there talking mostly about people transitioning, or what were the issues that he's been covering on the Daily Wire?
Now on the Daily Wire, it's just his podcast. Right now, he's working on. He did like the big Genesis series, which wasn't theological. It was more like looking at it through psychology and Carl Jung, symbolism and stuff like that. I mean, he did a lecture just on Pinocchio and the amount of, depth that he got just from Pinocchio was very interesting. Here, let's just see this. I never looked at this one. Can we just look at this quick? It says World Economic Forum. So you were saying, he doesn't really put a platform on that.
No. That's actually not what I said. What I said is that he's not covering it sufficiently, and he's covering it so rarely that it becomes a needle in a haystack. That might even be a direct quote from Machiavelli, is that these people have to tell the truth. They have to. That's what controlled opposition does. If they don't tell the truth, then they're not controlled opposition.
Yeah, but
so what you're doing is you're basically cherry picking instances that he may have talked. He may have made 10,000 speeches that are on YouTube, and you can pull up 10. So what percentage of 10, or what percentage of 10,000 is 10? Is that 0.01%?
Well, I think it's not the amount that he talks about, it's whether he does. Like let's look, for
No,
example, like I mean,
but
you're
but
saying,
Jason, that's what I just said, was controlled opposition is going to tell the truth.
okay,
So,
but what if
so
he's just
the
the
fact,
guy that's talking about it?
what?
Like, I don't know. I just see that he does bring up, like, I don't know. Let's look here. The globalists plan to take over your freedom. That was 4 months ago. He gave his opinion. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you could be so darn sure, because I'm acknowledging, hey, anything's possible. Who knows, right? But how can you be so sure that this guy is the enemy in a way, when the majority of the stuff, I mean, he is busy with his lectures, so he's allowed to be ambitious. He writes books. He's on a tour, like every day. He's busy for that. He ends up doing a podcast which is on a wide variety of stuff. But he talks here about the pandemic, the famine and war that occurs. I don't know, I haven't looked at this,
We
but I'm
will
just
not
curious.
advance without resistance through the straits of your enforced privation. We will not allow you to steal and destroy the energy that makes our lives bearable and that produces our food and shelter and housing and the sporadic delights of modern life, just to address your existential terror, particularly when it will fail to do so in any case. We will not allow our children to be criticized first for having the temerity to merely exist, and then deprived of the prosperous and opportunity-rich future we strived so hard to prepare for them. We remain unconvinced that your frightened and self-congratulatory moralizing and intellectual pretension, ignorance of the limits of statistics, and misuse of arithmetic. We do not believe, finally, and most absolutely, that your declared emergency and the panic you sow because of it means that you should now be ceded all necessary authority. So, leave us alone, you centralizers of power, you worshippers of Gaia, you sacrificers of the wealth and property of others, you would-be planetary saviors, you Machiavellian pretenders and virtue signalers, objecting to power, all the while you gathered around you madly. Leave us alone.
Yeah, that's a short clip. I don't know. Seems like he does talk about it.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, sorry.
I'm going
Gotta
to
stop
read
it.
to you today a piece
Sorry,
I
sorry.
wrote for
Where
the
the hell is
Telegraph.
I got so many things popped
in
up.
the
I don't even
UK.
know where he's talking.
I'm reading it because sometimes speaking spontaneously,
Give me a second, JD.
it's
I
necessary
have like
for me
50
to
things popped
craft
up,
my
I think.
words with as much care as I can manage, especially when dealing with things that are
YouTube.
pushing the
Where
limits
the
of
hell
my
is this happening?
conceptual ability, let's say. Writing is the deepest form of thinking, and sometimes I need to rely on it.
I don't even
So
know where
that's
this
why
is
I'm reading
happening.
it. Now, the next issue is how I'm going to read it. So,
I'm going to get a glass of water. I'll be back.
Yeah, go ahead,
news
JD.
pieces, let's say,
Okay, I found it.
commentaries recently.
All right, guys. Let me look at some comments, and I want to know what you guys think. All right. Eggs as medicine. Okay, this is where I was. I'm just gonna give me some time. I haven't responded, JD, to anybody here. 37. Just want to make sure. Okay, guys. So, oops. I think JD says device not connected, so he probably lost. He'll be back. What do you guys think? If maybe some people don't know Jordan, but if you have any Jordan fans, people that appreciate his work, do you think that he is controlled opposition, or do you think he's just a clinical psychologist that has done lectures and now wrote a book, and he's doing his lecture thing. I feel that for sure he's not focused on that, but I don't know. I see enough lectures about climate change, that the statistics and stuff are being manipulated, that for sure humans do have a certain effect on the planet's climate, but it's nowhere near what they're trying to create, like the catastrophe of climate change. He's spoken about that. He's interviewed. I'm just gonna JD, I'm gonna kick you from the studio because it says device not connected. In reality, it's because I just kicked JD because I don't agree with him. Okay, I'm gonna send another invite, JD. There you go. Okay, I'm going to scroll down a little bit faster, guys, because I want to know if anybody, what you guys think about Jordan Peterson. Do you think he's controlled opposition, or do you think he's just a clinical psychologist that focuses more on those topics and does have a podcast, interviews a wide variety of people? That's what you do when you got a podcast. You know, Joe Rogan interviews everything and anything. Margaret, last year, Schwabadaba Ding Dong held a meeting with high rollers. They walked out on him. Yeah, that's encouraging. Good. Klaus Schwab, we penetrate the cabinets. Sounds painful. And we have penetrated the Canadian cabinets. Exactly. Woot, strong words. I like Jordan Peterson. Haven't looked into him much though. Darla Lama. I like Jordan Peterson. Makes sense too. Darla Lama is on Jason's team. Any team. Okay, it's getting confused. So JD doesn't like JP. And it get confusing. Not so sure now about it. Jordan has been on a lot of yeah, for sure. I mean, that's his. Now he's pretty much on Daily Wire. If you look at Matt Walsh, who is the most outspoken against ideology, he managed to blow cover on Vanderbilt Hospital. To the point where Vanderbilt shut down their gender clinics, where they were doing mastectomies on teenagers and starting hormone blockers. Matt Walsh was a guy on YouTube that used to do his videos in his car because he wanted some privacy when he was doing it because he has a family, and then he got hired by that, and so I don't think he's controlled opposition. But it's good. It's good, because me and JD have a lot of things in common, and we have differences, and that's fine. And I take into consideration, it's like, oh, really? Okay. I'm going to keep my eye on it, but I don't know if JD should be like 100% sure that this is going on. I think we should all be paranoid a bit and very, take our time before trusting it. But I'm going from what the content, I find it's been very helpful. Like I said, he concentrates more on people getting their crap together, getting their life together. It's like 12 rules for life. I don't think that smart people can pay attention to every single thing and be an expert. He's not an expert in everything, and he focuses on what he wants. But I was looking, and it seems like there's a lot of stuff on Marxism. There's a lot of stuff. So we shall see. Jordan shows his feelings, will even shed tears. Well, that's one of the things that won me over. Now, I don't know. JD is a tough Texan farmer I don't know if he sheds tears, but I do. I'm a crybaby. And but Jordan Peterson, when he talks and he starts tearing up when he's talking, I don't think that's a fake. And if somebody can tear up talking about people that have come up to him and said that their life was in shambles and that they started listening to his lectures and that they got their life together, and that they're no longer in a horrible spot, and he starts crying about that, he just starts tearing up. I don't know. I mean, I read it as well. This guy really cares. You got, it said device connection or something. That's why I booted you out. I don't know. Maybe your feed or something wasn't supplying. I'm just reading I'm just reading some of the comments, because it's good, because we're not in agreement. So the most important is, who cares if we don't agree? It's just more interesting for the people watching,
Yeah,
Jordan,
absolutely. I don't hold any grudges against you, Jason. I love you like a brother, man.
Yeah, no, me too. We don't have to have the same views. I mean, yeah, we had different views about the hospitalization, why people, were presenting with stuff. That's fine.
Yeah.
Like the most important is, like you said, like, I invite you on a lot because it's about the farming, and I like to pick your brain, because I could tell that, okay, I know a lot of stuff, I focus on a lot of stuff, but I can tell that, you're well read, and that's good, because I bring you on and you can add stuff, or else it just becomes me echo chambering the stuff that I know. Jordan shows his feelings. We said that. Jordan goes against the grain a lot. I won't pop them up. I'll just read them. Yeah, we can talk about David Icke another time. He makes some good points, but he's a little loopy too. Jordan Peterson is controlled opposition, and he don't even know it. Therefore, he is a useful idiot. Well, geez, then what the hell am I? Like, because I do self-center too. Like I've said it. I'm like, there's some things I like. I got a job, and I'm not. I don't work for myself. I'm not an entrepreneur, so I have a choice. Do I say something on my YouTube with 500 subscribers that can get me fired? I'm a pussy. I'm a self-admitted coward then, because no, I'm not ready to do that. Now, if I was self-employed or something, I'd have a hell of a lot to say, but I'm not going to speak out on, let's say, my opinions on gender, and then in a way, because of the Canadian laws, I lose everything. And then I'm like, well, then didn't the gender issue just ruin my life? Like, I said my opinion. I don't know. I choose my battles. I choose like which hill to die on, in a way. We're almost through. It's about farming, eh? Did you add a because I'm Canadian? There's a lot of JD fans and JP is
Thank
getting
you,
confused.
Darla.
Eh?
I was saying thank you, Darla.
Yeah. Okay, so there's this. I just want to show one of them. Jordan. There's one that was. This was him coming back after being sick. You can tell like he's really frail, and his mind in the longer interview, it wasn't like articulate, and because this guy's very articulate, he was even like, I don't know, his brain seemed clouded.
To some degree, the conscience can be viewed as the voice of. Well, to some degree, the conscience can be viewed as.
Am I sharing the screen?
No.
No? Okay. Anytime you hear some video going and I'm not sharing, tell me. I do this a couple of times every freaking time. Yeah, see, he's like, looks pretty
So-
frail.
To some degree, the conscience can be viewed as the voice of reciprocal society within, and that's a perfectly reasonable biological explanation. But the thing is the deeper you go into biology, the more it shades into something that appears to be religious, because you start analyzing the fundamental structure of the psyche itself, and it becomes something. Well, it becomes something with a power that transcends your ability to resist it. So, okay, so you can think about Christ from a psychological perspective, and the critic, my critic, this particular.
You can tell, like, he's like really not articulate at this point. He's just coming back. He had been off, I think, for 3 years, sick.
Critic that I've been reading said, well, that doesn't differentiate Christ much from a whole sequence of dying and resurrecting mythological gods. And of course, people have made that claim in comparative religion. Joseph Campbell did that, and Jung to a lesser degree, I would say, but Campbell did that. But the difference, and C.S. Lewis pointed this out as well, the difference between those mythological gods and Christ was that there's a representation of, there's a historical representation of his existence as well. Now, you can debate whether or not that's genuine. You can debate about whether or not he actually lived and whether there's credible objective evidence for that, but it doesn't matter in some sense, because this, well, it does, but there's a sense in which it doesn't matter because there's still a historical story. And so what you have in the figure of Christ is an actual person who actually lived, plus a myth. And in some sense, Christ is the union of those two things. The problem is I probably believe that, but I don't know. I'm amazed at my own belief, and I don't understand it. Like, because I've seen sometimes the objective world and the narrative world touch. You know, that's Jungian synchronicity. And I've seen that many times in my own life. And so in some sense, I believe it's undeniable. You know, we have a narrative sense of the world. For me, that's been the world of morality. That's the world that tells us how to act. It's real. Like, we treat it like it's real. It's not the objective world, but the narrative and the objective world touch. And the ultimate example of that in principle is supposed to be Christ. But I don't know what to, that seems to me oddly plausible.
Yeah.
But I still don't know what to make of it. It's too, partly because it's too terrifying a reality to fully believe. I don't even know what would happen to you if you fully believed it.
If you believed in the story of Christ, or if you believed that history and let's say the narrative make meet, let's
both, I think you, when you believe that, you buy both those stories. You believe,
because I've seen him very often just you know, talking about people that have come to see him and told their story to him briefly, that his lectures really, you know, helped them, that they were in a bad place, and you know, he just tears up, and I don't know, it seems very genuine to me.
Okay,
JD,
can we go back?
what are your thoughts? Wait, I'm curious before. What are your thoughts about men crying? Do you think that they're pussies, or do you think real men can still shed tears? Because you get men saying, you know what, like guys shouldn't cry and stuff. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, real men shed tears. You know, there are. I don't know. It really depends on on the individual and where he is in his life. I think
Mhm.
whether or not someone who, because there's the possibility that if you've got a man who will not cry,
Mhm.
you might be dealing with a psychopath. On the
Mm.
other hand,
Yes. Good
on the
point.
other hand, you might be dealing with someone um, who's experienced some hardship, and psychologically their mind will not let them go to a place where
Mhm.
they can cry.
Yeah.
I went for years um, after my parents divorced. I went for years not being able to cry. Even if I wanted to cry, I couldn't. And it really
Yeah.
wasn't until about well, right after I met my wife, one night talking to her um, about some deep subjects for the first time in years, I cried, and
Mhm.
it opened up a dam of emotion that I at that for a while there I would cry at the drop of a hat. I would just all of that crying that I wasn't able to do for years and years.
Yeah.
All of a sudden became almost too easy for me to cry.
Floodgates. Floodgates were open, you know,
Yeah,
backed up.
and
So the
once
dam
I
closed.
yeah, all
Well,
the floodgates were opened up,
yeah.
and so I cried a lot. And then once I got a lot of that out of my system, then I began to cry when appropriate.
Yeah.
It just became something I could do again. So
I think like see, I'm looking. Let's say in my life, it also probably has also a what temperament people are too. So there's probably the different temperaments. Like I'm a very agreeable person. That usually leads to like people stomping on me, and it's like, so that's kind of my temperament. But when I didn't have my life together, okay, for example, when I was having issues for, because I used to drink, I used to party, it never really caused a problem, but it did eventually. And I had like about 5 dark years of just depression and drinking, which is primarily, actually, I wasn't happy in my job, really. That was really it. Like, I was working in anesthesia. I'm not an anesthesiologist, and my brain is very um, I had a lot of potential to express, and I couldn't, because it was like it's a meat market. It's like, all right, prepare the drugs, bring the patient in, put the IV in. Okay, we got to stay on time. We don't want to cancel. The surgeon doesn't want his surgeries. It's just a meat market. I'm sorry, like, no, but you know what I mean. It's a production line. In the OR, it's like a schedule and stuff like that. So it's just repetition, and I wasn't stimulated, and I also was way too sensitive, and I couldn't handle actually just the egos of the doctors and stuff. So when they would say something, it would be like a shard, and so, see, that's a man. I would cry, but that's not a manly cry. That's a selfish, weak cry. Because so the tears, there's an intention behind it. That's just somebody who didn't have, like me. I didn't have my crap together during those years. And the thing that I noticed is when you're not taking care of business, okay, your conscience condemns you. So you can make up all sorts of excuses. Oh, I'm depressed. Oh, I have this and stuff like that. Just justify you not getting your crap together. So when people would criticize me, because I knew that my conscience was condemning me, like, you're not being a man, Jason. You're not taking care of business. So when people, so I would leave the house. Let's say I would put a facade on, right? I wanted to present myself right, but when people would jab that, because it was a facade, a bubble that was so easily popped, I was fragile. So that is a man crying not, for that's not a manly cry. That's just not like an appropriate cry. That's a selfish cry. That was me crying about, oh, somebody poked me. When I got sober and got my life together and became a man, then my conscience was clear. And when people tried to jab me, it had no more effect. And that was like an interesting insight. I was like, so now I do cry, but they're tears of empathy and just feeling touched. It's mostly I'll be brought to tears, even by just beautiful things that are touching and stuff like that. I don't cry for myself anymore because my conscience is clear. But when I was drinking, I knew deep inside that it was a self-absorbed state of being. And I just noticed though, it's like, I think that men should shed tears, but with the right intentions, because you're boohooing yourself is far from tears, being a man. I don't know. Does that make sense? I don't know if I explained it correctly, but to cry isn't weakness. It's good to release feelings. Yeah, but I think that there's a lot of people that cry for themselves than playing victim. It's always the intention. See, I started noticing things, especially, there was this passage in the Bible. I'm vaguely paraphrasing it. It's basically, even Christians will go before Christ and be judged, and many people will arrive and maybe enter the kingdom of God, but they'll enter with empty pockets, because God's not impressed by the good actions that you do, because you can do very good actions with a selfish intention. For example, doctors have huge egos, and what would happen is I'm limited, with this cool stuff I can do, but for a respiratory therapist, the coolest thing is getting at that head and intubating, and getting that airway in and stuff like that. It's impressive. You see it in movies and stuff like that. And the doctors, some of them wouldn't let me do it and stuff like that. And that made my ego become bigger and bigger. So I can see that we save lives, and a lot of the staff are doing it with selfish intentions, looking for recognition. When I used to do cool stuff when I was younger, in my 20s, I would tell everybody, like, oh yeah, where there was cardiac arrest, freaking doctor, man, he couldn't even get it. So I arrived and I did this and that. And it's like, then I was thinking, man, because now I believe in God and I believe in Christianity. I said it was scary when I first became Christian, because I started going through and I said, oh my God, if I die right now, okay, I will arrive with empty pockets. God will not be impressed with one freaking good deed I did, because I noticed in my 20s that I was doing good things and then seeking recognition. And that means even doing very good deeds with inappropriate intentions is not good. And I noticed that, and that's when, especially when I read, remember at one point Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. Then you probably heard of that. It was really popular. He was the thing. You've heard of Eckhart Tolle?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I read that, and it was basically, just recognizing the narrative in your mind, that you're the stillness, that you're the awareness where thoughts, emotions, and narratives are said, but you're not your thoughts, emotions, and narrative. And he was always talking about the ego. And then it put a spotlight on me. And then I was just like horrified, because my ego kept on eating up my good deeds. And it was like a compulsion to let people know the great thing that I just did. And I never, it was only actually until I became Christian that really left. But yeah, it's, I don't know. Now I'm just rambling about it, but intentions are really what I think God looks at. because there's a lot of good deeds that you can do. You could be all full of yourself while you just saved a life. Somebody goes, "Oh my God, thank you for saving, my family member," and you could have been egotistical, and the ego is quite sly, because I knew that was wrong. I knew that egoism was wrong, so I didn't show it at one point. Initially I was, but when I all of a sudden understood, like, oh wow, your intentions behind your good actions are often just self-seeking. So then at that point I stopped doing it, but it was still there in my mind, That was a really uncomfortable situation. That's what led me to 20 years of reading every single thing, spiritual thing that I could get my hand on. And I was keenly aware. I was like, I'm spiritually sick, and I'm going to hide it because I know I shouldn't express it, but I couldn't get rid of it. And that's why I hang on Christianity so much, because it was literally when I did that, when I came to Christ, that all of a sudden, wow, I was humbled, and in my heart, I'm humbled now. And I think that the people that seek out recognition is because they're trying to fill a hole that everyone has. We all have that hole. Some people fill it with drugs, alcohol. Other people fill it with buying stuff, compulsive buying. Other people just are horrible to other people because they like the control. Maybe they're in a position where they can do that job wise. It's just I think everybody fills that hole, and I had that hole, and the only darn thing that has filled it is Christ. And that's why, like, I can't deny it. All these people like criticizing and challenging me and stuff like that. And I mean, the Bible even says, we're fools for Christ, because but yeah, anyways, for me, it's like, there's no way I'm ever going to deny my experience with Christ, because it's what fills that hole that I used to try and fill with recognition, ambition, alcohol, just, partying and stuff like that. I don't know. What do you think about that? Like, do you agree that we all have like a hole that we try and fill? Do you like, because I really feel the only thing that spot is for God, and people don't know it, and people keep on trying to fill it, and the only thing that for me fills it is Christ. And I always backtrack. Like, I'm not like I'll fall back into the world and stuff like that, and I'll get earthly, and then that emptiness happens again, and then I feel, and that's why I know it's real, because I see the contrast. I feel God when I'm doing, when I'm in the Bible, when I'm really, like somebody who's weight training, I'm taking it seriously. And then if I slack off, then I feel that void. And
Yeah.
every time I go back to God, it fills it. So it's like, for me, it's like, don't tell me that this ain't real. It's real, because I can see the contrast. I don't know. Any comments on that, JD?
Yeah, I think that void that everyone is looking to fill is one of the main things that the corrupt powers that be take advantage of. They use that to manipulate us and to keep us distracted while they carry out their crimes against humanity.
Yeah.
God works in mysterious ways. Obviously, you've heard that a million times. Even saying it sounds ridiculous because it's so cliche. But
Yeah.
There was a book that I read that I think it's ironic. It's kind of ironic how a book like this could bring someone closer to God. But the name of the book is Amused to Death.
Okay.
See if I can remember the author. Yeah, it's called Amusing Ourselves to Death, Public Discourse in the Age of Show Business. And the author is Neil Postman.
Okay.
And that book changed my life forever once I read it. It put pop culture in a whole new light for me. And I realized that pop culture is a tool that corrupt powers use to offer us false idols. Every celebrity out there is idolized, and they're used to affect social change. Movies are, I read an article the other day about the new movie Avatar, The Way of the Water, and James Cameron was confessing that he made that movie not to be entertainment, but to affect social change.
Mm-hmm.
And he told the interviewer that the most effective way to affect social change isn't necessarily done with documentaries,
Mm-hmm.
but with cinematic movies that will elicit a certain perspective and certain emotions about certain subjects and certain types of people. And of course, if you look at James Cameron, he's heavily involved with the WEF types. He and Schwarzenegger have been doing some work directly with the Communist Party of China.
Yeah.
And they're constantly, I don't know if you remember, he and Arnold were promoting veganism.
Yeah, I hate Arnold. He did that thing where he's showing his fridge and all that crap. Yeah,
Yeah.
that guy will sell out for anything.
Yeah.
Here,
So yeah, basically his goal with Avatar is he wants people to do things like go peacefully to the electric vehicles,
Mhm.
go peacefully to a vegan diet. And you can see these messages and other other messages that would be harmful to us
Yeah.
in that movie. And most people don't realize that they're being emotionally manipulated into seeing the world in a way that would hedge them into being subject to the punishment and reward systems of the social credit system that China is developing.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason I bring all of that up is because people will try to fill that void that you speak of with idolatry, celebrity worship, golden calfism, always looking for some human being to latch on to, some celebrity to worship, when in reality, all of these people really what they need to do is turn off the television, get their fat butts up off the couch, and go outside and spend an extended amount of time out in God's nature and get comfortable with themselves again.
Yeah. Yeah, the majority of people now, what's happened is they're in a state where they can't be alone with themselves. I remember I was like that. Here, you can see, I wanted to, you were talking about Putin at the World Economic Forum.
Yeah.
Is it popped up? Yeah. There's the leader of China. murderer being praised. So that's why we know that if he's there, they're drooling about what he's created. This is the prototype, I think. It's funny. There's let me stop the screen share. We'll do another 30 minutes, and then we can continue at another time. Like a lot of people criticize about, prayer and stuff like that. And well, for me, prayer is I'm just in conversation with my imaginary friend kind of thing. Yeah, but I've had like what we could call synchronicities and stuff like that, where I really feel that God, has worked through an event or people. But here's one example. See, I don't think that I think that God answers prayers, okay, when you're asking him to be renewed spiritually. Any of these, vices that we have, that we struggle with, when you pray to God to change your heart and renew your mind, those are the prayers that will be answered. I even find it weird, like praying for sick people, as if like God's waiting and saying, oh, good thing you prayed for that person. I wasn't going to heal them. Like, so I'm even like not big on praying for people for healing and stuff like that. That's just me. So what I'll usually pray is that, send your spirit with them while they're suffering, so that they can have strength and stuff like that. But like, here's an example. I'm not enjoying my job, okay, because I'm just bored out of my mind. I'm super resentful that I'm not a doctor, even though I didn't even attempt to be a doctor. I just went as a respiratory therapist. So you can see how ungrateful I am for what God's given me. I'm kind of criticizing God at this time in my life, saying, like, why do you give me this talent? And I'm not a doctor, and I'm looking at doctors that are like incompetent or something, like I'm criticizing God, saying like, you should have put me in this spot because I'm better and stuff like that. People used to say, look, I'm really good at my job. Like I am, the guy, my reputation and stuff like that. I don't want to sound like full of myself, but I'm there. Okay. And when people would say, geez, you're so good, Jason, you should have been a doctor, that would make me even more upset. Because of that was a huge resentment that was fueling my drinking days. Now, that's what they'll say in AA, in Alcoholics Anonymous. The 12th step, one of it is to write an inventory. The other one is a resentment list. So the alcoholics in AA say, if you don't deal with your resentments, you'll never get sober, because it's the resentments. And I'm like, I'm really not a resentful person. I had one huge resentment, and it was that I wasn't a doctor. And I'm criticizing God, and I'm drinking. So I remember I was in the operating. I mean, it's not like I was drunk while I was at work. It was I worked evenings, so I was able to finish at midnight, drink myself till 3 a.m, sleep, right till 1 or 2 before I went to work. I was just miserable at my job, good at it, resentful, drinking and sleeping, and those were my 5 dark years. But I remember I was in the operating room, and I was praying to God, and I said, God, I'm out of control. I just help me, like just give me a miracle, I mean, here I am expecting that he's just gonna like boop, and now all of a sudden everything's fixed. And I feel that he answered my prayer, because I had 2 things: drinking problem, and I felt powerless about that because I was in this vicious loop, of drinking, and I was resentful, and I wasn't enjoying a job that I was actually good at. So what did he do? He made my alcoholism even worse, and my depression, to the point that my dirty laundry did spill over at work, and people did notice. And I took time. I was told to take time off work. I was humiliated, because everybody knew my dark, deep secret. So I was off work for depression. I was dealing with my alcoholism, and the issue was that I had been off frequently for those 5 years, almost every year for a few months with depression, which was probably fueled by the alcoholism. And what happened was my professional order took me out to see if I was, and it wasn't a disciplinary action. It was, well, if you're physically unable to do your job, they will evaluate that. Or if you're psychologically unable to do your job, then they'll evaluate that. So I was sitting there for a year, going to AA meetings, wondering if now if I'm going to be competent to do my job, the job that I was like, amazing reputation, like, you know, I was great at it. And I sat there for a year being evaluated by 3 psychiatrists, going to AA, getting sober, and sitting there going, what if I can't practice even rest therapy? And like when I was 5 years old, I said I wanted to be a doctor. Like that, I don't know. It's always been healthcare. Only reason I didn't go into medicine was because I was 20 and I was partying and drinking, and I went into rest therapy. So I came out of that after a year, no longer an alcoholic, and humbled through humiliation. I developed humility through humiliation, and I have been thankful ever since with my job. Now what happened was I no longer wanted to be in anesthesia. I ended up going to the intensive care in the ER. From there, now I lecture internationally for a German company for electrical impedance tomography. I lecture now in colleges. I implemented something that almost no hospitals use, airway pressure release ventilation. I teach that. I am so like stimulated and I realized, wow, I just wanted to be able to express all of my potential. I didn't need to be a doctor, and now I'm fine. I'm almost done.
Are kids supposed to be picked up at what time?
10. So I'll break it now.
Okay.
You just give me 5 minutes.
Okay, yeah, that's cool.
No one wanted to stay till 30, so it's 10.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, 10 minutes to finish it up. So yeah, I'll have to finish it up soon. But anyways, I came out of that, and that is how God answered my prayer. I was powerless. He dealt with my alcoholism. He humiliated me. I had gratitude now. And then after, he put me in a place where I thought that I wasn't going to be happy. I thought that, I didn't realize I was unhappy in anesthesia, and I was too scared to change. Like somebody who's in an abusive relationship. It's toxic, but they stay there because they're too scared to go into the unknown. And when I left anesthesia, I realized how much more happier. And I'm just saying, all of that was one prayer. God, I'm powerless. And he was like, okay, no problem. I'm waiting for like a bing. Oh, all of a sudden I'm happy and everything's fixed. He's like, no. You have a disease, and a surgeon, okay, if you have a disease that is just lingering, no, you can't heal it because you don't know you got it. It has to explode into a crisis, and then the doctor can heal it, kind of analogy. I did a prayer, and God worked through it always does that in a completely crazy way that I would never expected. And he leveled me. And that's what he did in the Bible. He levels the Jews, and then he rebuilds them. He levels them, he rebuilds them. In the New Testament, the same theory. God, his children, he chastises them. He, to build you up. If your foundation is built on sand, he's gonna level you. It's gonna be so painful, and he'll build you back up. And that's that's why I believe in God. Because I'm like, no, God answers prayers. Because people pray for things. They pray for I want this to happen. Can you do this and that? He's not going to answer those prayers. I don't think he gives a crap about our life here physically. All he cares about is eternal life. And like he answered my prayers. He humiliated me. I had humility, and I'm so grateful. And now I look and I'm like so blessed. I love my job. Um, and I believe that my prayer is answered. You know? That's enough of that. But um, I, like my wife said, I gotta go. To be continued. I just want to pop up a few things because this is what I like. I pop up some stuff to talk about, and we never end up talking about what I want, and that's cool because we have great conversations. This is the first one I got to, the eggs. I wanted to talk also about enviro pigs or Franken swines that are genetically altered. They use actually E. coli to create an enzyme that allows them to degrade phosphorus because I guess the way they're being fed, the phosphorus in their feces, they're saying is an issue. Seems to me phosphorus is something that the soil needs. I don't know. They say it runs off, but then again, is it because the soil is being tilled that it's not holding things and they're running off? Here's one thing I thought. Obviously, Jordan Peterson, all meat diet. This is from Vegan Circle Jerk. I like how vegans in the awakened community are always somewhat perverted. But anyways, it's compassion, but it's always like sex. So they look at Jordan Peterson, they go, this was him, and this is him 2 years later on a meat diet, which was not freaking true. Okay, this is when he was extremely ill, off for 2 years. So they're discussing, this was something I wanted to look through, vegans and people discussing that the meat diet created that. But Jordan is still on his meat diet. So he looked like this, and now this was 11 years ago. So this is Jordan 11 years ago. They said this is him on the meat diet. He's still on the carnivore diet, and this is what he looks like now. So I just like how the vegans, plastered him when he was extremely ill, and said, look, he started on a meat diet. This is what the meat diet created 2 years later. No, he's still on the meat diet. The guy looks very healthy. And in 1 decade, I think he's aged pretty darn well. So that was something I wanted to talk about. I thought it was like quite hypocritical. I wanted to talk and kind of show people, because I know a lot of people are trying to lose weight. One of the articles that I saw Matt Walsh was talking about is now they're pushing diet pills for children, and get this, bariatric surgery. Those where they shrink your stomach, which is like a huge surgery. Imagine a parent deciding for a child to have a bariatric surgery when they're still a child, and that has a lifelong repercussion. There can be complications for life. And instead of telling people, look, there's more than one way. Fine, you want to do the calorie restriction, eat less, moderate, whatever. Okay, some people pull it off, but some people fail miserably. And there's not only the issue for weight loss when somebody is morbidly obese and has metabolic issues. It's not only about insulin resistance that's causing them to be fat. There's ghrelin. There's hormones that tell you when you're hungry or not. There's ghrelin, and there was another one. So they can have a resistance to the hormone that tells you that you don't want to eat. So it's really sad that a lot of really fat people, let's say her, for example, okay, this person, people will say, oh, they're just, gluttons, they're on discipline. Well, no, they're being lied to about, proper nutrition, and they're trying to do the age-old calorie restriction, which at best you lose weight for 1 year, ruin your metabolism, and then after plateau and revert back. But it's like, okay, keto diet will give you a heart attack. It's like, sorry, okay, this girl, okay, eating, I don't care if she's eating bacon, okay, for the rest of her life, she has way better odds on the right, okay, eating lard all the time, and compared to this, because they're like, oh no, this fat girl, she has no danger of heart attacks. This girl who managed to get her weight from this to that no, you know what? You're doing the keto diet, you're going to die. This is like freaking ridiculous. So it just kind of got me back into the keto thinking that they're literally going to do gastric bypass on young children instead of just telling kids, stop eating all the sugar, concentrate on eggs, beef, and use butter and eat as much as you want. You're growing. Why don't you eat what your body's made of? Carbs are not essential, and I find that tragic that they're literally trying to start giving bariatric surgery to children's. I think it was here. I had the Daily Wire popped up because Matt Walsh was actually talking specifically about that. That was his topic du jour. Maybe I can just go to, and then we'll have to go. Just want to go back to Daily Wire. You can see how much I love Daily Wire. It's right there. Log in. Watch. This is a great documentary. What is a Woman? Daily Wire. Where's Matt? Sweet Baby Gang. So like I love it because he has a wide variety, but this one, deranged medical experts. I think that I know where it is. It's right
Today
at
on
the
the Matt Walsh
start.
Show, the corrupt and morally bankrupt American Academy of Pediatrics has announced new guidelines for dealing with childhood obesity. No surprise, they recommend drugs and surgery. We'll talk about that and the medical industry's decades-long.
I'm share screening right now, JD. Why can't I hear you? Did I mute JD? JD, I can't hear you. Oh, he's out. Okay, sorry. I didn't realize you popped out. Yeah, I just want to show you this 3 minutes of the Matt Walsh's thing, and then I got to take off.
Well, yeah. Let me just say one thing about
Yeah,
this subject is
Yeah.
that I had an issue with someone that contacted me over a year ago
Okay.
who really put a lot of energy into kind of trying to befriend me behind the scenes, emailing me, went through great pains to portray that they were an ally of mine. And then all of a sudden a switch flipped and this person started pushing the fat acceptance mantra in my comment section.
Yeah.
And if you go back to sometime last year, I was going to do an ab reveal, basically showing what a 53-year-old man. I'm 54 now, but back then I was going to say these are, the nutrition program that I'm following. This is what you can do in your 50s. And she just came unglued, called me a narcissist, and convinced me to shut that whole idea down. But then she came out later as this fat acceptance individual.
Yeah.
And I finally came to understand that she's of that whole it's like the other side of veganism. It's they meat, but they tons and tons of ultra processed foods. They're obese. They're morbidly obese, and they believe that a doctor coming and speaking to you about your obesity is obesity stigmatism, is fat stigma, and they believe that there's actually nothing wrong with being fat. There's inherently nothing wrong with it. What's killing fat people at such a high rate is the stress of dealing with the stigma of being fat. And that all ties into what you're talking about here, in that even the medical community now is starting to say that it's better to get a gastric bypass than it is to elect to govern what and when you eat. Because the moment that you start to govern what and when you eat, even if it's ultra processed junk food, then
Yeah.
that is the first step towards an eating disorder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's crazy. I know I've seen a lot. Matt Walsh talks about fat acceptance too. I mean, I have a lot of compassion for people that are overweight because I know that a lot of them are really trying. They're being told, to eat more brown bread and all sorts of stuff. Yeah. Okay, so he said 10:30, so I'm not really late. Okay, I just want to play the probably 4 minutes and then we'll go. But we can continue
Today on
this.
the Matt Walsh Show, the corrupt and morally bankrupt American.
Okay, can you see the screen?
Yep.
Okay.
What is this?
American Academy of Pediatrics has announced new guidelines for dealing with childhood obesity. No surprise, they recommend drugs and surgery. We'll talk about that and the medical industry's decades-long campaign to medicalize every aspect of the human condition. Also, the DOJ is investigating after classified documents from Joe Biden's time as vice president were found stashed away. I guess we have to impeach Biden now. Those are the rules. Plus, schools across the country reinstate masking policies, and M&Ms empower women with all-female candy. What the hell exactly does that mean? We'll find out all of that and more today on the Matt Walsh Show.
I like Matt Walsh so much that I'm trying to emulate him. I grew a beard and I'm going to have to get glasses. I can't grow the hair, so I'm looking into a wig.
Between their reaction to COVID and their full-on embrace of gender ideology, nearly every major medical organization in the country has completely discredited itself over the past couple of years. I'm not sure that we've really ever seen an industry so quickly and so thoroughly torch its own credibility in this way. Granted, we're facing an institutional crisis in the West where almost all major institutions have forfeited the public's trust. But the medical industry sets itself apart because of the dramatic and seemingly sudden nature of its moral and intellectual collapse, and because the consequences of the public losing confidence in the medical industry of all industries are especially dire. The public may still have faith in medicine, the science of medicine, but they don't trust the people charged with developing, dispensing, and prescribing it. And why should they? Worst of all, the specific area of the medical field that has conducted itself the most shamefully and destructively is that area which deals with children. In particular, the American Academy of Pediatrics, which is the largest association of pediatricians in the country, has gotten it disastrously wrong on every important issue for the past several years and counting, pushing faux medicine and faux treatments and putting ideology ahead of science every step of the way. The APA, of course, pushed school shutdowns during COVID, masking for children, even now recommending the COVID vaccine for 6-month-old babies. That's the APA's recommendation. And of course, it is one of the principal promoters of gender ideology in the country, giving a rubber stamp to whatever the extremist World Professional Association of Transgender Health has to say. And as WPATH guidelines recommend castration, mutilation, and sterilization for ever younger gender-confused children, so too then does the APA. Of all the once respected organizations that have been ideologically captured by the far left and become these grotesque, discredited husks of what they once were, the APA perhaps sets itself apart. And it's not done. It's not done yet. CBS News has the latest. Quote, children struggling with obesity should be evaluated and treated early and aggressively, including with medications for kids as young as 12 and surgery for those as young as 13,
Crazy.
according to new guidelines released on Monday.
Just so I don't get a copyright strike or something, if you comment about it, then it's okay. So I just stopped it, and I'm going to be like, blah, 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 blah. Say, I commented. No copyright strike. Continue.
The long-standing practice of watchful waiting or delaying treatment to see whether children and teens outgrow or overcome obesity on their own only worsens the problem that affects more than 14.4 million young people in the U.S., researchers say. Left untreated, obesity can lead to lifelong health problems, including high blood pressure, diabetes, and depression. Waiting doesn't work, said Dr. Ihuma Ineli, co-author of the guidance on childhood obesity and 15 years from, on the first guidance on childhood obesity in 15 years from the American Academy of Pediatrics. What we see is a continuation of weight gain and the likelihood that they'll have obesity in adulthood. For the first time, the group's guidance sets ages at which kids and teens should be offered medical treatments such as drugs and surgery, in addition to intensive diet, exercise, and other behavior and lifestyle interventions, said Anelli, director of the Center for Healthy Weight and Nutrition at Nationwide Children's Hospital. In general, doctors should offer adolescents 12 and older who have obesity access to appropriate drugs, and teens 13 and older with severe obesity referrals for weight loss surgery. Those situations may vary. So, as we've seen, the APA loves nothing more in this world than performing medically unnecessary and potentially dangerous elective surgeries on children who cannot consent to them or fully understand their long-term ramifications. It's like their favorite thing to do.
All right, that's good enough just to get a taste of it. Yeah. So they're the puberty blockers. They even I think they're setting because basically they've never given puberty blockers to children to put a pause. It's like a movie. You just press pause and then you have time to think about it. And then then you can just press play and go on. No, what's happening is these kids are being it's impossible to have a LGBTQ mother with 3 kids that just happen to be born fluid. This one's no.
Yeah, they're brainwashing their own children.
Yeah. And in Canada, if your child has been brainwashed and you're trying to say no,
child abuse,
you'll get it taken away. It's like saying, by the way, your child has cancer. Well, he's not getting treatment.
Yeah.
I don't believe.
This whole system, which has been called, I think, pretty accurately, medical tyranny.
Yeah.
Okay. This is all very perverted, what they're doing to children, and the medical community. And I'm not talking about you, Jason, but I'm just talking about
I know what you mean.
The machine is complicit, and I don't know if you know anything about Edward Bernays, but he's who they call the father of public relations, and public relations was a term that was coined after World War II to replace the word propaganda. And he worked for Edward Bernays worked for decades. He's the one that had the doctors posing for a magazine. They were advertising cigarettes. 9 out of 10 doctors recommend cool cigarettes.
Yeah.
And he worked with Hollywood for decades, developing storylines and scripts for television shows coming out of Hollywood that would deify MDs, that would put doctors up on a pedestal in the minds of the pleb class.
Yeah.
And I believe that all of that, the purpose for that was gearing up for what we've got now, which is this medical where they're they're willing to what they're doing to children, in my mind, what you just talked about with the puberty blockers and taking children away from parents that don't want to participate in this. It's like pedophilia. Really, I mean, this is
it's approaching. I mean, at one point, like right now, it's no longer pedophilia, right? It's
minor attracted individuals.
Okay, it's getting very, very weird. But specifically, the puberty blockers, it's an experiment. They've never done it, and now as they're doing it, it's like literally like, they're little lab rats. Let's try it and let's see what happens. So, causing brain inflammation. Some children have brain inflammation and they have gone blind on the puberty blockers. Children are developing osteoporosis. Their bones are like old lady bones. Okay, imagine osteoporosis, and it's creating micro penises. So the kid starts taking this before he hits puberty. And then after he takes this for many years and then decides, you know what, like, yeah, this is crazy. Like, I wanted to be Superman also, and I'm a child. And then they stop, and now this child has to live with a little pecker that's like, you know, the little 10-year-old noodle. It's
Yeah,
like,
and also just general sterility.
yeah. And they're pushing that. The depopulation agenda is pushed on every single level, from Planned Parenthood, from encouraging, let's say, alternate lifestyles, discouraging marriage, discouraging monogamy, the diet, the food pushes infertility, the parabens in all of our deodorant, everything. Parabens are estrogenic. They lower sterility. Plastic, parabens are in plastic. It's just on every single level. Now they're, you know, in Canada, they're really pushing assisted suicide, and they're lowering the age. Now bipolar, depressed people, a very young age, can get assisted suicide. 50% of mentally ill people are substance abusers because they're treating themselves because they feel horrible, so they're using drugs. They're not going to get out of that vicious loop. So now that it's like everything is just, it's so like every aspect is there to depopulate, and they are attacking the next generation. They are brainwashing it. Michelle's daughter has 2 children. She's homeschooling. I would never send my children. Thank goodness my 2 boys, they're 16 and 17. They're just about to go out. Just Noah's doing mechanics from school. He's learning mechanics, but to put a little kid in a daycare now, or in kindergarten or preschool, where they're pushing all sorts of books that are completely ridiculous and dangerous, it's toxic. It's crazy. I thought it was big in Canada. I was talking to a Muslim coworker. You know, they're highly religious. Yeah, the child comes home, mom, and talking about, I don't want to talk too much with words, but we know what we're talking about. And she's confused. She's like, no, you know, like, it's just, they're using children as guinea pigs. They're injecting 6-month-old kids now with freaking vaccines when they'd never get sick. I've seen, for some reason now, children are getting severely ill with influenza. There's an outbreak now that children don't get sick with influenza. Old people get knocked off with influenza. RSV, respiratory syncytial virus, children needing hospitalization, extremely ill. And now you know what they're saying? Well, COVID must have affected the children's immune system. Yeah, okay. A virus that children never presented any symptoms from, that were never in danger. Now that must have somehow not created any symptoms, but has completely ruined their body, that they can't deal with simple influenza. You know, I'm glad I got that out, because I'm known to self-censor myself. You know, but it's just fact. You know. Anyways, I gotta go. It's 10:30. To be continued, because this was a great conversation, by the way. I think this was a good live stream. What I'm going to do, I think, these are maybe too long, but the problem is that I'm going to do live streams. The minute that they're done, I'm going to put it private, and then I'm going to download my recorded StreamYard as a video, because I'm noticing my live stream, I have 11 people, and then before I know it, within a few days, I have 110 views. So people are viewing my live stream after. So I'm just going to put it private, and I'm going to repost it as a video to actually get hours. That's my thought. All right, guys, that's enough. I'm kicking you out, JD. Have a good night.
Good night.
To be continued very soon, I hope. All right, guys, I'm out. I want to apologize. I kind of neglected a lot of the stuff that you guys were talking about. I didn't say hi to a lot of people. They took down commercial of leave our kids alone. Yeah, exactly. So I just want to say hi to, okay, my name, hello, Leah, Alias, ça va bien mon ami, Margaret, His Highness, Ghosts. Sorry, man, I didn't invite you on. Next time you can join the conversation. Next live stream will just continue exactly this because there's a lot more to be said. What's up, Robert? And anybody else that I miss, I'm sorry, but you're greatly appreciated. That's it. Peace out, guys. God bless.